The last train out of Switzerland was supposed to save Evelyn Carter's life. At least, that was what she believed when she stood beneath the glass roof of Zurich Central Station, with a suitcase in one hand and a passport in the other. Snow fell beyond the tall arched windows, turning the city white and silent. The station was crowded, but Evelyn felt strangely invisible. Businessmen rushed past with leather briefcases. Families pulled children toward warm train cars. Tourists checked departure boards. No one looked twice at the young woman in the dark wool coat, standing beside Platform 9, waiting for the midnight train to Milan. That was exactly what she wanted. To disappear. No goodbye. No explanation. No one following. No one asking where she had gone. Her name, her home, her past, all of it, would end tonight. By morning, Evelyn Carter would no longer exist. She would cross into Italy, change trains, empty her bank account, and begin again under the new identity folded inside her purse. A simple name, a quiet apartment, a city where no one knew who had raised her. A city where no one knew that the man she had called father for 26 years had lied about everything. Her childhood, her mother, her adoption, even her name. 2 days earlier, Evelyn had found the locked file in Richard Carter's study. She had not been looking for secrets. She had been looking for her passport. Instead, she found birth records written in a language she did not understand. Photographs of herself as a child in places she did not remember, bank statements connected to offshore accounts, and a single envelope marked with a warning. If she ever starts asking questions, move her before they find her. At first, Evelyn thought it was fear. Then she realized it was control. Richard had not protected her. He had imprisoned her life inside lies. So she ran. Now, with only 12 minutes before departure, freedom waited behind the doors of a train glowing with warm yellow light. Evelyn clutched the ticket in her coat pocket. One last ticket. One last chance. Then the announcement board changed. Train 284. 7 to Milan delayed. A ripple of frustration moved through the crowd. Evelyn frowned. The train was already there. The passengers were already boarding. A delay made no sense. Then, the lights flickered. Just once. Enough to make everyone look up. A voice crackled through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. Platform access is temporarily restricted. The doors to Platform 9 locked." Security officers appeared at the far end of the station. Then more. Too many. Passengers began murmuring. A child started crying. Evelyn's fingers tightened around her suitcase handle. Something was wrong. She turned toward the exit and stopped. Black SUVs rolled silently through the snow outside the main entrance, one after another. 6, 8, 12. They formed a dark wall against the white street. Men in black coats stepped out with the calm precision of soldiers. Not police, not security. Something colder, something more controlled. The crowd parted before them, without being asked. Evelyn backed up slowly. Her heart began to pound. A man entered the station last. Tall, dark-haired, dressed in a black overcoat that moved like shadow around him. He did not rush. He did not look around nervously. He walked as if the entire building already belonged to him. Every guard shifted when he passed. Every official lowered their eyes. Even the station manager, a silver-haired man in a navy suit, looked pale as he hurried toward him with a folder in his hand. Evelyn did not know his name yet, but she knew power when she saw it. Real power was not loud. It did not beg to be noticed. It simply entered a room and made everyone else smaller. The man stopped beneath the departure board. The station manager whispered something. The man signed one document, then another. Then, his gaze lifted and found Evelyn. Across the crowded station, through the panic, through the noise, straight to her. Evelyn Froze. It was impossible. He did not search for her. He already knew exactly where she was. The crowd between them slowly shifted aside. He walked toward her. Every step felt deliberate, measured, unavoidable. When he stopped in front of her, Evelyn realized he was younger than she expected. Mid-30s, maybe. Sharp, yaf, dark eyes. A face too controlled to be kind. He looked like a man who had never begged for anything in his life. His gaze dropped briefly to her suitcase, then to the ticket half visible in her hand. "You were leaving," he said. His voice was quiet, deep. "Not a question." Evelyn forced herself to breathe. That's what train tickets are usually for. A few people nearby went silent. One of his men glanced at her, as if she had just stepped too close to a loaded weapon. The stranger did not react. He extended one gloved hand. "Give me the ticket." Evelyn stared at him. "No." His eyes held hers. "You don't understand what's happening. I understand a strange man just locked down a train station and is asking for something that belongs to me. It no longer belongs to you." Her stomach tightened. "What does that mean?" He reached into his coat and removed a folded slip of paper. A train ticket. Her train ticket. Sam destination. Same time. Same seat. Evelyn looked from the ticket in his hand to the one in hers. Confusion turned slowly into dread. "You bought my seat?" "I bought the last valid ticket." "That's impossible." "No," he said calmly. "It was expensive." Evelyn's anger cut through her fear. "You think this is funny?" "No." "Then what is this?" His expression did not change. "Prevention." "From what?" He stepped closer. Not enough to touch her. Only enough for his voice to drop below the noise around them. "If you get on that train," his eyes stayed locked on hers, "you'll be dead before sunrise." The words chilled her more than the snow outside. For 1 second, Evelyn could not speak. Then disbelief rose inside her, because she was tired. Tired of lies. Tired of men deciding her life for her. Tired of being watched, moved, hidden, and controlled. "You expect me to believe that?" "No." His honesty caught her off guard. "I expect you to hate me for stopping you." "I already do." Something flickered across his face. Not anger, recognition, as if he had expected that too. Behind him, officials began evacuating passengers from the platform. The midnight train remained still, its windows glowing warmly. Evelyn looked past him. "That train is my only way out." "No," he said. "It's the only way they knew you would take." Her breath caught. "They?" He did not answer. That silence was worse than a lie. Evelyn stepped back. "I don't know who you are." This time, one of the men behind him spoke in a low voice. "Matteo." The man lifted one finger. The guard immediately fell silent. Then the stranger finally said his name. "Matteo De Luca." The name passed through the nearby officials like a current. A woman at the ticket counter looked away. A security officer lowered his head. Even the station manager seemed to stop breathing. Evelyn had heard the name before, not in ordinary conversations, in whispers, in news articles that never printed everything, in rumors about private banks in Geneva, missing politicians in Rome, luxury hotels in Monaco, and shipping companies. Nobody investigated twice. Matteo De Luca, the most powerful mafia boss in Europe. Evelyn's mouth went dry. She gripped her suitcase harder. "Stay away from me." "I can't." "You can." "No." His voice remained calm. "I really can't." The train whistle sounded behind them. Passengers gasped. The lights inside the train flickered. For a moment, Evelyn looked toward the doors. That was all it took. She ran. She dropped the suitcase, shoved past a security officer, and sprinted toward the platform barrier. Someone shouted. Matteo did not. He moved fast. Too fast for a man who had seemed so still moments earlier. Evelyn reached the locked gate, just as it buzzed open for a railway official. She slipped through. Cold air rushed over her face. The train doors were closing. She ran harder. Her boots hit the snowy platform. The conductor turned. "Miss, you can't." Evelyn grabbed the metal rail beside the nearest door. Then a hand caught her wrist. Not violently, firmly, enough to stop her. She turned sharply. Matteo stood behind her. Snow clung to his dark coat. His expression remained controlled, but his eyes were different now. Not cold, not entirely. There was something almost like fear beneath the surface. Not for himself, for her. "Let go," she said. "No, let go of me. If I do, you die." The train began to move. Slowly. Inches at first, then fester. Evelyn struggled against his grip. "You don't know that." Matteo's jaw tightened. Then he reached into his coat with his free hand and pulled out a small black device. He handed it to one of his men. "Now," the man spoke into a radio. 3 seconds later, the train brakes screamed. The entire platform shook. Sparks burst along the tracks. Passengers inside shouted as the train lurched to a violent stop. Then came the explosion. Not large enough to destroy the station, but close enough to shake the glass roof above them. Fire burst from the underside of the third carriage. Smoke rolled across the platform. People screamed. Evelyn stopped fighting. Her blood turned cold. The train, her train, the seat she had been about to take. Matteo released her wrist slowly. Only then did she realize he had turned his body between her and the blast without thinking. The platform filled with smoke, alarms, and chaos. Evelyn stared at the burning carriage. She could not breathe. Matteo leaned closer, his voice low beside her ear. "I told you." She looked at him. For the first time, she did not see only the man who stopped her. She saw the man who had known exactly where the bomb was, exactly when it would detonate, exactly how close she had come to dying. And that terrified her more than the explosion. "Who are they?" she whispered. Matteo looked toward the burning train. His face hardened. "The people your father spent 26 years hiding you from." Evelyn's stomach dropped. "My father?" His eyes returned to hers. "Richard Carter is not your father." The words hit harder than the blast. Around them, emergency lights painted the snow red. Men in black coats moved through the smoke. Passengers cried. Officials shouted orders. And Evelyn stood frozen on the platform, watching her old life burn inside a train she had almost boarded. Matteo picked up her abandoned suitcase and handed it to one of his men. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "To the only place they can't reach you tonight. I'm not going with you." His eyes met hers. Calm, dark, unmoved. "Yes," he said quietly. "You are." Evelyn hated how certain he sounded. She hated that he had just saved her life. Most of all, she hated the small, frightened part of herself that wanted to believe him. As Matteo guided her through the smoke toward the waiting SUVs, she looked back one last time at the train station. The life she had planned was gone. The freedom she had chased had been a trap, and the most dangerous man in Europe had just bought her last ticket before death could use it. Outside, the snow kept falling, silent, cold, endless, and somewhere beyond the lights of Zurich, the people who had hunted Evelyn since childhood had just learned one impossible truth. She was still alive, and Matteo De Luca had found her first. The black SUV moved through Zurich like a shadow. Snow slid across the tinted windows. Emergency lights faded behind them. The train station disappeared into the night, swallowed by smoke, sirens, and the memory of fire beneath the third carriage. Evelyn sat in the back seat, with both hands clenched around the strap of her purse. Matteo De Luca sat beside her, not touching her, not looking at her, but somehow still controlling every breath inside the car. 2 men sat in front. Another SUV drove ahead. 3 more followed behind. A moving fortress. Evelyn stared out at the snow-covered streets. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but the explosion replayed in her mind again and again. The train, the seat, the blast. If Matteo had not stopped her, she would have been inside that carriage, dead before sunrise, exactly as he had warned. She hated that he had been right. Finally, she turned to him. "Where are you taking me?" Matteo did not answer immediately. His eyes remained on the dark road ahead. "A safe place." "That is not an answer. It is the only one you will get tonight." Evelyn laughed once, cold and bitter. "You buy my ticket, shut down a station, drag me into your car, and now you expect me to sit quietly?" "No." He looked at her then. "I expect you to survive long enough to hate me properly." The answer stole her words. For half a second, there was no mockery in his voice. Only control. Only exhaustion, hidden beneath discipline. Evelyn leaned closer. "Who planted the bomb?" Matteo's expression hardened. "People who were never supposed to know you existed." "Then how do you know me?" His silence returned. It filled the car like smoke. Evelyn's throat tightened. "You said Richard Carter isn't my father." "He isn't. Then who is he?" "The man assigned to hide you." The words moved through her slowly. Assigned. Not chosen. Not family. Assigned. Her chest ached. "He raised me." "Yes. He loved me." Matteo looked away. "I don't know if men like Richard know how to love without turning it into a cage." That hit harder than Evelyn wanted it to, because part of her had already wondered the same thing. The SUV turned away from the city center and climbed toward the hills above Lake Zurich. Snow thickened. The streets became narrower. The lights of the city dropped below them like a distant constellation. At the top of a private road, iron gates opened before the convoy even stopped. Beyond them stood a glass and stone villa built into the mountainside. Modern, luxurious, isolated, guarded from every direction. Evelyn stared at it through the window. "This is your safe place? For tonight. And tomorrow?" "That depends on who survived the train." A chill passed through her before she could ask what he meant. The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Matteo stepped out first and offered his hand. Evelyn looked at it, then at him. "I can walk." "I know." His hand remained extended, not demanding, waiting. That almost made it worse. She ignored it and stepped out on her own. The snow crunched under her boots. Matteo said nothing, but as they walked toward the villa, Evelyn felt him stay close enough to block the wind from her left side. A small thing, a quiet thing, a thing she did not want to notice. Inside, the villa was warm and silent. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the frozen lake below. A fire burned in a long black marble fireplace. Security screens covered one wall. On another table sat maps, files, passport scans, surveillance photographs, and satellite images. Evelyn froze, because at the center of it all was her face, her passport photo, her apartment building, Richard Carter's estate, the train station, the cafe where she had sat alone 3 days ago, the bookstore where she had bought a map of Milan. Her hands went cold. "You were watching me." Matteo removed his gloves slowly. "Yes." "How long?" He did not answer. Evelyn stepped closer to the table. The photographs were not from 1 week, not 1 month. Some showed her younger, much younger, leaving school, walking through an airport, sitting outside a hospital, standing beside Richard Carter at a charity dinner. Her stomach turned. "How long?" she repeated. Matteo's voice was quiet. "Since you were 17. Evelyn turned on him. 9 years? "Yes." "You followed me for 9 years? I protected you for 9 years. Don't dress obsession up as protection." A flash of something dark crossed his eyes. "You think I wanted this? You collected my life on a wall. I collected threats. You invaded everything. I kept you breathing." Her voice rose. "You don't get to decide. That makes it okay." "No," Matteo said. "But you're alive to tell me that." The room went still. Evelyn hated him in that moment, hated his calm, hated his certainty, hated the way every answer was both monstrous and impossible to dismiss. She pointed toward the files. What am I? Matteo's jaw tightened slightly. Not much, but enough for her to see he had been expecting the question. You are the last key. To what? To an empire that was supposed to stay buried. He walked to the table and opened a black folder. Inside was an old photograph, a woman with Evelyn's eyes, a man standing beside her in front of a private jet. Behind them, a symbol was visible on the jet's tail, a silver serpent curled around a crown. Evelyn touched the photograph with trembling fingers. Who are they? Your parents. The room tilted. No. Yes. My mother died when I was a baby. That part is true. And my father? Matthäus Heldhers. Your father was Adrian Vale. Evelyn shook her head. I don't know that name. Most people don't. Who was he? One of the founders of the Seraphim Accord. The name sounded beautiful, almost holy, but the way Matteo said it made it feel like a curse. What is that? A criminal alliance between bankers, intelligence brokers, arms dealers, and old mafia families across Europe. Evelyn's breathing changed. No. Your father helped build it. No. And then he tried to destroy it. The fire cracked softly behind them. Matteo continued. Before he died, Adrian Vale stole the Accord's hidden asset records. Money routes, names, accounts, blackmail archives. Everything. Evelyn stared at the photo. Why would he do that? Because your mother wanted out. Matteo's voice lowered. She wanted you to have a life untouched by what they built. A pain opened in Evelyn's chest. A mother she did not remember had wanted freedom for her, and somehow that wish had become a lifetime of lies. Where are the records? She asked. Matteo looked at her. Locked. Where? In a system no one can access without the encryption key. Then, why are they hunting me? His silence answered before his words did. Evelyn stepped back. No. Matteo said nothing. No, she whispered again. I don't have anything. You do. I would know. You wouldn't. Her hand moved instinctively to the necklace beneath her sweater. A small silver pendant Richard had told her belonged to her mother. She had worn it since childhood. Matteo's eyes followed the movement. Evelyn saw it. Her blood went cold. Slowly, she pulled the pendant free. It was oval-shaped, plain silver. A tiny black stone set in the center. Her voice barely worked. This? Matteo's expression did not change, but something in his eyes confirmed everything. That is why they came for you. Evelyn looked down at the pendant. All her life, she had thought it was the only piece of her mother she still had. A memory, a comfort, Ali, or worse, RK. Anger rose through the shock. Richard knew. Yes, he knew what this was. Yes, and he never told me. He was ordered not to. By who? Matteo looked toward the windows. Snow moved beyond the glass like ash. By me. The words struck her like a slap. Evelyn stared at him. You? I was 27 when your father died. He came to me before they killed him. Why would he come to you? Because he knew I hated the Accord as much as he did. Why? Matteo's face turned colder. They murdered my family when I refused to join them. For the first time, his control slipped. Only slightly, but enough. Behind the power and the tailored suit and the monstrous reputation, Evelyn saw something raw, buried, unforgiven. He asked me to hide you, Matteo said, to keep the key away from them, to keep you alive until the Accord collapsed. And did it? Yes. Then why are they still hunting me? Because collapse is not death. His eyes returned to hers. And now the survivors want their empire back. Evelyn sank slowly into the chair beside the table. Her legs no longer trusted the floor. 9 years of surveillance. 26 years of lies. A father who was not her father. A mother who died trying to free her. A criminal alliance, hunting her for the necklace against her skin. The room felt too warm, too bright, too small. Matteo moved toward her, then stopped. His hand lifted slightly, as if instinct had almost made him touch her shoulder. But he lowered it. The restraint unsettled her more than contact would have. "Don't," she said softly. "I wasn't going to. You wanted to." Silence. For the first time, he looked away first. That small surrender made something dangerous shift between them. Not trust, not forgiveness, but awareness. The kind that made silence feel intimate. A phone rang. Matteo answered immediately. His expression changed as he listened. The warmth in the room vanished. "What?" Evelyn asked. He ended the call. "One of the men from the station survived." "Good." "No." His eyes sharpened. "He wasn't one of ours." The security screens flickered. A live feed appeared from outside the villa. Snowy Road. Iron Gate. Headlights in the distance. Then more headlights. A convoy. Evelyn stood slowly. "How did they find us?" Matteo looked at the pendant around her neck. "They didn't follow us." His voice dropped. "They followed the key." The lights in the villa cut out. Emergency red illumination washed over the room. Alarms began to pulse through the walls. Outside, engines roared up the mountain road. Matteo stepped in front of Evelyn, his body becoming a shield before she could even process the danger. This time, she did not move away. His men rushed into the room with weapons drawn. The first explosion hit the front gate. Glass trembled. Snow burst upward beyond the windows. Evelyn's breath caught. Matteo turned his head slightly, just enough for her to hear him over the alarms. "Stay behind me." She looked at the burning gate, then at the man who had lied to protect her, the man who had watched over her for 9 years, the man she still did not know whether to fear or trust. But when the second explosion tore through the mountain road, Evelyn stepped closer to him, not because she forgave him, not because she understood him, because for the first time that night, she believed one thing completely. The danger was real, and Matteo De Luca was the only wall standing between her and the people coming to take her. The first explosion tore through the front gate. The villa shook. Glass trembled inside its steel frames. Snow burst into the air beyond the windows as headlights climbed the mountain road like predators rising out of darkness. Evelyn stood behind Matteo De Luca, her fingers still wrapped around the silver pendant at her throat. The key, the thing she had worn her whole life, without understanding it. The reason her father had lied. The reason the train had exploded. The reason men were now coming through the snow to kill her. Matteo did not look back at her. He only gave one order: take her downstairs. 2 guards moved toward Evelyn. She stepped back. No. Matteo turned then. For the first time since the station, real urgency entered his eyes. "Evelyn, I'm not being dragged anywhere else without answers. This is not the moment. It is exactly the moment." Gunfire cracked outside. A bullet struck one of the reinforced windows and spiderwebbed across the glass. Evelyn flinched. Matteo stepped closer, his body blocking her from the window. "You want the truth?" His voice was low, controlled, but burning underneath. "They are not here to bargain." Another explosion shook the villa. The lights flickered. "They are here to cut that pendant from your body if they have to." Evelyn's breath caught. The honesty was brutal, but it was also clear. Matteo looked at his men. "Downstairs. Now." This time, Evelyn did not fight. Not because she trusted the guards, because she trusted the fear in Matteo's eyes. And men like Matteo De Luca did not fear easily. They moved fast through a hidden door behind the security wall. A narrow stairway led into the mountain itself. Concrete. Steel. Cold blue lights. Evelyn could hear the battle above them grow louder with every step. Gunfire. Shouting. Breaking glass. The sound of men dying in rooms that had looked untouchable only minutes earlier. At the bottom of the stairs, the guards opened a vault-like door into an underground command room. Screens covered the walls. Maps of Europe glowed in red. Files were stacked on steel tables. Names, route, bank transfers, photographs. Evelyn saw the seraphim symbol again. The silver serpent around the crown. Her stomach twisted. "This is what they want," one guard said. He was younger than the others. Nervous. Too nervous, Evelyn noticed. Before she could question it, the door behind them began to close. Then the young guard raised his gun. Not at the door. At her. The other guard froze. "Stefan?" The young man's face was pale. "I'm sorry." The shot came fast. The older guard collapsed. Evelyn screamed. Stefan grabbed her by the arm and pressed the gun against her ribs. "Move." Evelyn could barely breathe. "You work for them." "I work for whoever lets me live." He dragged her toward the far end of the command room, where another tunnel sloped downward into darkness. Evelyn struggled, but he tightened his grip until pain shot through her arm. "Don't make me hurt you. You already chose that." For 1 second, shame flickered across his face. Then he pushed her forward. The tunnel opened into an underground garage carved beneath the mountain. A black car waited with its engine running. Beside it stood a man in a grey coat. Older, elegant, calm in a way that made Evelyn's skin crawl. He smiled when he saw her. "There she is." Stefan shoved Evelyn toward him. The man lifted a gloved hand and gently touched the pendant at her throat. Evelyn recoiled. He smiled wider. "My God," he whispered. "After all these years." "Who are you?" Evelyn asked. "Victor Havel." The name meant nothing to her, but the way Stefan lowered his head told her enough. Victor studied her face with almost tender interest. "You have your mother's eyes." "Don't talk about my mother. She was a brilliant woman." His expression cooled. "And a foolish one." Evelyn's fear sharpened into anger. "She tried to save me from you. She tried to steal what belonged to us." Victor's fingers tightened around the pendant. "The accord was not destroyed. It was sleeping. And you, my dear, are the hand that wakes it." Before Evelyn could pull away, a gunshot echoed across the garage. Stefan fell. Victor turned sharply. Matteo stood at the tunnel entrance. Blood ran down one side of his face. His black coat was torn. His hand held a pistol steady enough to make every man in the room freeze. But his eyes were on Evelyn. Only Evelyn. Victor's smile returned. "Matteo De Luca." Matteo stepped forward. "Let her go." Victor kept one hand on Evelyn's shoulder. "You always did have a weakness for doomed causes. She is not a cause." "No?" Victor tilted his head. "Then what is she?" Matteo's silence filled the garage. Evelyn looked at him. For one impossible second, the war around them seemed to fade. Matteo's eyes met hers, and she saw the answer before he spoke. "She is the promise I refuse to break." Victor laughed softly. How romantic. Then he lifted a small remote. "Unfortunately, romance has always been expensive." The screens inside the garage flickered to life. The train station appeared. Then Richard Carter's house. Then a private bank in Geneva. Then a list of names: judges, ministers, generals, executives, all tied to the Seraphim Accord. Victor looked at Evelyn. "The pendant opens the archive. With it, I rebuild the Accord." Matteo raised his gun. "With it, you expose every surviving member." Victor's smile faded. Evelyn looked from one man to the other, then finally understood. The pendant was not just a key to money. It was a key to truth. Every crime, every account, every hidden name, every person who had spent decades profiting from blood. Her father had not left her a fortune. He had left her a weapon. Victor leaned closer. "Give me the pendant, Evelyn, and I will let Matteo die quickly." Matteo's jaw tightened. "Don't." Victor's fingers dug into her shoulder. or keep it, and I will send every assassin in Europe after whatever remains of your life." Evelyn looked down at the silver pendant. For 26 years, she had worn it like a memory. Allai, Burden. Now, it felt like a choice. She slowly reached behind her neck. Matteo's voice sharpened. "Evelyn." She unclasped the chain. Victor's eyes brightened, but Evelyn did not hand it to him. She turned toward the computer terminal beside the car. The interface was already waiting. A single port glowed blue. Victor realized too late. No. Evelyn slammed the pendant into the reader. The room went silent. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, every screen turned white. Files opened. Thousands of them. Names. Accounts. Videos. Contracts. Murder orders. Wire. Transfers. The Seraphim Accord unfolded across the world in real time. Matteo moved the second Victor reached for his gun. The garage erupted. Gunfire shattered the screens. Victor dragged Evelyn backward, using her as a shield. Matteo did not fire, not while she was in the way. That hesitation almost cost him. A bullet struck his shoulder. He staggered but stayed standing. Evelyn saw the blood spread across his shirt. Something inside her broke. She drove her heel into Victor's foot and twisted hard. His grip loosened. Matteo fired once. Victor's gun flew from his hand. Evelyn fell to the concrete. Matteo reached her before anyone else could. He pulled her behind him as his men flooded the garage from the tunnel. The fight ended in seconds. Victor Havel dropped to his knees, wounded, furious, and defeated beneath the glow of his own crimes. Evelyn stood slowly. Her hands shook. Her face was streaked with tears, but she did not look away. Victor stared up at her. "You have no idea what you just started." Evelyn looked at the screens, at the archive spreading beyond the villa, to journalists, to courts, to agencies, to every hidden enemy who had believed silence would protect them forever. "Yes," she said softly, "I do." Matteo turned toward her. The cold, feared Mafia Boss looked exhausted now, bloodied, wounded, human. For the first time, he seemed less like the man who had taken her freedom, and more like the man who had guarded it until she was strong enough to claim it herself. Sirens echoed in the distance. Not police sirens, helicopters, private forces, government units. The world was coming for what Evelyn had released. The Seraphim Accord was finished, but the night was not. As the garage doors opened to the snow outside, one final assassin rose from behind the damaged car. Matteo saw him first. So did Evelyn. The assassin aimed at her. Matteo moved without hesitation. He stepped directly in front of her. The gun fired. The sound cracked through the mountain. Matteo took the bullet in his side. Evelyn caught him as he fell. For the first time since she met him, Matteo De Luca looked breakable. His weight dragged her to her knees. Snow blew into the garage behind them. "Matteo," she whispered. His eyes struggled to focus on her face. "You're safe." Her voice cracked. "That is not what I asked." A faint breath left him, almost a laugh. Even bleeding, even dying, he was still trying to protect her from fear. Evelyn pressed her hands against the wound. "Stay with me." His fingers found her wrist. Weak, warm. "Do you still hate me?" Tears fell before she could stop them. "Yes." His mouth curved slightly. "Good. Don't you dare smile." "I wanted..." His voice faded, then returned. "I wanted you free." Evelyn shook her head. "You don't get to say goodbye after ruining my life this dramatically." His eyes softened. "I saved it. You saved it. Ruined it. Langshola. To me. Kidnapped me and then got shot in front of me." "That sounds accurate." A broken laugh escaped her through tears. Then his grip loosened. Panic tore through her. No, Matteo. Look at me." His eyes closed. The world narrowed to her hands. His blood, and the snow falling through the open garage doors. Men shouted for medics. Someone pulled her back. She fought them. "Don't touch me." The last thing she saw before they lifted him away was his hand slipping from hers, and the snow turning red beneath him. Matteo survived. Barely. For 3 days, the most feared mafia boss in Europe lay unconscious in a private medical wing beneath Geneva, and for 3 days, Evelyn refused to leave. She sat beside his bed in the same coat she had worn at the train station, the same woman who had been desperate to disappear, now staying beside the man who had stopped her. No one questioned her. Not his guards, not his doctors, not the politicians calling non-stop, demanding to know what she had released. The Seraphim files had already begun destroying empires. Arrests spread from Switzerland to Italy, France, Germany, and Monaco. Banks collapsed. Ministers resigned. Old mafia families turned on each other overnight, and Evelyn Carter became the woman everyone wanted to find, but no one dared approach her, because Matteo De Luca's men stood outside her door, and because Evelyn herself had stopped being afraid of shadows. On the 4th morning, Matteo opened his eyes. Evelyn was asleep in the chair beside him, one hand resting near his on the blanket. He watched her for a long time before speaking. "You should have left." Her eyes opened instantly. She sat forward. "You're awake. You look angry." "I am. That's familiar." She stood and leaned over him. "Do you have any idea how close you came to dying?" "Yes." "And you're making jokes?" "I'm not very good at emotional recovery." Evelyn stared at him. Then she laughed once, breathless and furious. Then she cried. Matteo's expression changed. He tried to lift his hand. She took it before he could reach. For the first time, neither of them pulled away. The room went quiet. No alarms. No gunfire. No explosion. Only the sound of his machines and her uneven breathing. "You lied to me," she whispered. "Yes. You watched me for years. Yes. You decided what I could know. Yes. I should never forgive you." His eyes held hers. "I know. But you also kept a promise to a dead man." Matteo's jaw tightened. "And you saved me from a train I thought was freedom." His voice lowered. "It should have been freedom." "No," she said softly. "It was a trap." He looked away. "I never wanted to be your cage." Evelyn sat beside him. "You were." The words hurt him. She saw it. Then she added, "But you were also the door out." Matteo slowly looked back at her. Something passed between them then. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Something more honest. The beginning of it. Weeks passed. The Seraphim Accord collapsed under the weight of its own secrets. Richard Carter vanished before investigators could reach him, leaving behind only a recorded confession for Evelyn. He admitted he had lied. He admitted he had hidden her. But he also admitted one final truth. He had loved her badly, fearfully, imperfectly, but truly. Evelyn listened once, then never again. Some wounds did not need to become homes. By spring, she returned to Zurich Central Station. Not alone, Matteo walked beside her, healed but slower than before. The station had been restored. The shattered glass replaced, the platform repaired. Snow was gone now. Sunlight poured through the glass roof. Passengers rushed in every direction, unaware that a war had once nearly begun beneath their feet. Evelyn stood beside Platform 9. The same platform, the same line, a different woman. Matteo stopped a few steps behind her, not blocking her path this time. Not standing between her and the train, only waiting. She turned. "You're not going to stop me." His eyes held hers. "No. What if I leave? Then I make sure the road is clear." Her throat tightened. "And if I don't come back?" A quiet pain crossed his face. Then he answered honestly, "Then I live with it." That was when Evelyn understood how much he had changed. The man who had once bought her last ticket was now willing to let her choose the next one. She looked at the train, then at him. For years, she had mistaken escape for freedom. But freedom was not simply disappearing. Freedom was choosing where to stay. She stepped away from the platform and walked back to him. Matteo did not move, did not reach first, did not claim the moment. So Evelyn did. She took his hand. His breath changed, only slightly, but she felt it. "You're not easy to love," she said. His thumb brushed once over her fingers. "I know. You're impossible. Actually, that also sounds accurate." She smiled through the emotion in her eyes. "But you never let death use my ticket." Matteo looked at her then, and for the first time, the coldness that made men fear him was gone completely. In its place was something quieter, something dangerous in a different way. Devotion. "I would buy every ticket in the world," he said, "if it meant you got to choose your destination." Evelyn stepped closer. The station moved around them. Life continued. Trains arrived. People left. People returned. And beneath the glass roof where she had once tried to vanish, Evelyn Carter finally stopped running. She kissed Matteo De Luca softly. Not because he saved her, not because he protected her, but because, in the end, he learned the one thing no mafia boss had ever taught him. Love was not possession. Love was standing beside the door and trusting her to decide whether to walk through it. Sometimes the person who stops you from leaving is the reason you survive long enough to truly be free. But what do you think? If you were Evelyn, would you forgive Matteo after discovering he had watched over you for 9 years? Or would you still walk away forever? Let me know your answer in the comments. And if you love cinematic mafia boss romance stories filled with dangerous protection, hidden secrets, emotional tension, and unforgettable endings, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join Dark Hearts Society for the next story.